44 years ago, our Supreme Court turned away from the first of these timeless ideals. But today, 3 generations hence, because of all of you and the many thousands who stand with us in marches like this all across the nation, life is winning again in America.
All right. Well, Republican presidents and vice presidents generally have been known to be right to life. It is unusual for them to pop up in person at a right to life event, in this case, 44 years after Roe v. Wade. But they were there, and the Vice President of the United States, the highest-ranking official to ever address this group. So it does raise at least some notes here that is a big deal, and why all the news networks were on it simultaneously, and business networks, when he was speaking to the Washington Examiner columnist Kristen Soltis Anderson, Independent Women Forum's Patrice Leon-Wuka. Patrice, Anna, begin with you. What do you just think of the significance of that?
I mean, it sends a clear message that this administration values life as defined by the marchers that are out there today. What I really appreciate, though, is the news media actually being able to turn to the March for Life compared to the paltry couple of minutes that it's given to this march for the past few years. I
wonder, Kristen, we probably would not have gotten that response on the part of the news media if it were not for the vice president addressing them, right? I mean, that was unusual, right?
I think that's a fair assessment to make.
All right, Kristen, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that it's very likely that the vice president being there is going to be a reason why the media will pay a little more attention than in years past. But I also think, the fact that there was so much attention on the Women's March over the past weekend gave a lot of conservatives the opportunity to point out to reporters, hey, look, there seems to be an imbalance here. There seems to be a lot of attention being paid to one. But have you ever been to a March for Life? And so in a way, I wonder to what extent the media, which I still don't think is going to cover this as much as those rallies from last weekend. This is a really clear-cut example of look at where bias exists even where you think it doesn't exist.
Yeah, well, that could be. We'll see. Of course, that rally was on a Saturday, the day after the inauguration, so weekend coverage would be in the moment, day of. This, I don't know if it carries over after today. What do you think, Patrice?
I think it might, but there's a lot also going on in the news, and I think given some of the major issues and the fast pace with which this administration is pursuing its, agenda, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see a lot more, but I'm pleased to see at least a little bit more balanced coverage. I will say, though, that women's issues are not just limited to abortion rights and reproductive rights. I think women care about a lot more than that, and I'd love to see that also become a part of the narrative.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm wondering if I get your thoughts on some other developments we're hearing out of the Trump White House, and that is that the president and Mexican President Peña Nieto did speak on the phone, and apparently it was about an hour-long phone call. I don't know what they were saying. I mean, whether they're just trying to sort of de-agitate from the tensions yesterday, the canceled powwow in Washington next week. But it's one thing to exchange pleasantries or ask how you're doing. But when you do that for an hour, then something more must be going on. Kristen, what do you think it was?
I expect they were talking about the wall. I expect they were talking about trade. There are a lot of issues where there's been a ton of rapid change that has come down the pipeline here in Washington in just the last week. And a lot of it does pertain to our neighbor to the south. And, of course, you have the president in Mexico who has very low approval ratings, is in sort of a political tough spot down there, needs to show that he's taking a tough stand against Donald Trump. So the political dynamics here between these two heads of state are very fascinating. But there's, of course, a lot of business, whether it's trade, whether it's immigration, on the Trump administration's agenda that has to do with Mexico. Yeah,
I was noticing as well, Patrice, that no less than the Wall Street Journal had editorialized today that the president's approach, our president's approach, sort of pinned the Mexican president into a corner. And there was no way out for the guy, and not exactly the way you commenced the art of the deal. But did Donald Trump overplay it, or was this just what he really wanted to do and kind of let the Mexicans know, not only am I building the wall, you're going to pay for it, that there was no middle ground for him?
Well, it's hard to get into the president's mind to know exactly what he intended, but I will say he was sending a very clear message and trying to deliver on a lot of the promises that he made in the campaign, and this was one of the biggest ones.
Is that going to be the issue? I mean, now, I guess, because what they're talking about is the wall's going up, as I was discussing with my friend Charlie Gasparino. We can debate whether the effectiveness of a wall or not. That's not the issue. I think it's a done deal. The wall is coming. Now the question is the way we pay for it, or the way we have the Mexicans pay for it, or whether the way we're going about it, tax, a border tax, a tariff, whatever you want to call it, is the way to go. How is that going to go down, you think?
Well, I'm really curious about the way in which the public perceives something like a border tax. If we're slapping a tax on any goods that are produced in Mexico that come here, is that actually Mexico paying for the wall, or is that American consumers paying for the wall through taxes? And so whether you're talking about something like a border adjustment that's a broader part of tax reform, taking some of the revenue out of the border adjustment tax that was instead going to go offset some other things and using it for a wall, well, then does that make it revenue neutral anymore? And how do consumers view this? If the dollar is getting stronger but their goods are getting more expensive, or there's a tax on their goods, how does that play out? So I'm really interested in, do Americans actually think that this border tax counts as Mexico paying for the wall?
Yeah, we'll see, because we're going to pay it initially, and whether they represent that or cut the price of their goods to compensate for that, anyone's guess. Kristen, Patrice, thank you both very, very much.